Welcome to today's deep dive. Today we're getting into something that honestly gives a lot of people a surprising amount of anxiety.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we're talking about phone calls.
Right. Specifically, mastering phone conversations in English. We're looking at a really comprehensive guide, along with a transcript from a real English conversation lesson.
And this source material is fantastic because it's completely focused on the essential phrases and, the specific vocabulary you need for this.
Yeah, and our mission for this deep dive is basically to decode this. It's almost like a specific dialect, right? Phone English. We want to transform it from this huge source of anxiety into a structured, really easy to navigate skill for you.
Because, I mean, let's face it, when you talk to someone face to face, you have this massive safety net.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You have hand gestures, facial expressions, eye contact, all of it.
Right. And if you're confused, you just sort of, tilt your head.
Right.
And the other person naturally explains further without you even having to ask. You're constantly reading the room. Yeah, you don't even realize you're doing it half the time.
Mm.
But then, you pick up the phone.
And suddenly you're stripped of all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is a completely blind conversation. You literally only have your voice and your words. And that transition can be incredibly nerve-wracking.
It really can. And the source actually shares this great, highly relatable anecdote about this.
Oh, the restaurant reservation one. Yeah, this is crazy.
So there's this native speaker, someone who literally teaches English for a living, and they're practicing making a restaurant reservation.
Mm-hmm.
And the person on the other end simply asks, "May I have your name, please?" And this teacher just went completely silent.
Just froze.
Froze for 3 full seconds of dead air.
Which, I mean, on a phone call, 3 seconds of silence feels like an absolute eternity.
It's like a localized panic attack, but it just perfectly illustrates the unique pressure of phone communication. When you remove that visual feedback loop, your brain has to work like twice as hard to process the audio.
Yeah, and that can cause even really fluent speakers to just momentarily short circuit.
Exactly.
So, if the professionals are getting stage fright on the phone, what hope is there for the rest of us?
Well, there is a lot of hope, actually.
Right, which is why we're doing this deep dive.
Uh-huh.
Because whether you are prepping for an international business call or scheduling an appointment abroad, or you just want to feel totally bulletproof in your daily communication, we're going to give you the exact formulas you need.
Yeah, think of it as building a new, highly specialized linguistic toolkit. Because phone English really is a distinct dialect.
It totally is.
It has specific structures, a different pacing, and expressions you just rarely use face-to-face. It's not just about memorizing vocabulary, it's about learning how to project confidence when you are completely invisible.
Well said. So let's start at the very beginning of the call. Because you lack those visual cues, the opening seconds carry a massive amount of weight.
They really do. It sets the whole tone.
Yeah, I like to think of it as a verbal handshake. Like, if your physical handshake is weak or fumbling, the whole interaction starts off on a wobbly foot.
Right.
The same goes for the phone. If you answer the phone at work with a hesitant, hello, you've already lost a bit of professional ground.
And the materials contrast personal and professional greetings beautifully here. I mean, if you're answering a personal call from a friend, a simple hello is fine.
Yeah.
But in a professional setting, the goal is immediate clarity. You answer with, "Good morning, this is," and then your name speaking. Or even just your name followed by, "How may I help you?"
You're instantly establishing boundaries.
Exactly. You set the boundaries and the tone before the other person even speaks.
Now, there's this tiny, really elegant little shortcut in the guide that I absolutely love.
Oh, the speaking response.
Yes.
Mhm.
Someone calls and asks, "May I speak to," insert your name here, and that happens to be you.
Yeah.
You don't need to explain, "Yes, that is me. I am the person you were looking for."
Right, you just say, "Speaking."
Boom. Confident. Done. It's so efficient.
It is highly efficient. But, the real shift in power dynamics comes into play when you are the one making the call.
Oh, this is a huge point.
Yeah, because after you identify yourself saying something like, "Hello, this is my name calling," you must immediately state your purpose.
Don't wait around.
Exactly. Don't wait for them to ask you what you want. You say, "I'd like to make a reservation," or "I'm calling to schedule an appointment."
You just lay the roadmap out right away.
You do. Because think about the cognitive load on the person answering the phone. When a receptionist picks up, their brain is instantly working overtime trying to figure out this puzzle.
Like, who is this? What do they want? Are they angry?
Right, how much of my time is this going to take? By immediately stating exactly why you were calling, you solve that puzzle for them instantly. You remove all the guesswork.
And that puts them at ease.
It really does. And ironically, by doing them that favor, you take complete control of the interaction.
Okay, so a strong verbal handshake is basically, hi, this is my name, and I'm calling to do this specific thing.
Perfect.
That sets a firm foundation. But, I mean, these shock absorbers are great for the first 10 seconds. The reality is, once you've successfully opened the call, you almost never get what you want instantly.
No, rarely.
You inevitably hit roadblocks, gatekeepers, hold music, terrible audio connections.
And this is where that specific phone dialect really kicks in to save you.
Let's look at gatekeepers first, the receptionists or the assistants. You can't just say, give me Sarah.
No, that sounds incredibly demanding and aggressive.
Right. So the key phrase you need here from the guide is a phrasal verb. Put me through. Like, could you put me through to the sales department?
Yeah, put through is an indispensable phrase. It means to connect or transfer the call. And it actually has really interesting physical, historical roots.
Oh, right, from the switchboards.
Exactly. Think back to the old telephone switchboards. An operator literally had to take a physical cable and put it through a specific slot on a board to connect your line.
I love when language holds onto those little ghosts of old technology. It's so cool.
It is. The technology is digital now, but the phrase remains the gold standard.
Now, what usually happens right after you ask to be put through, you hit the dreaded hold.
The waiting game?
Right. The source actually mentions waiting 45 minutes on hold with an airline. We've all been there just listening to that grainy elevator music forever.
Oh, it's the worst.
And because being put on hold is such a universal annoyance, the language we use around it is highly formalized. To maintain politeness and keep people from getting angry.
Right. If you're the one who needs to go find a manager or check a file, you ask, could you hold for a moment, please?
But the really crucial part, the part that kind of saves the relationship, is what you say when you finally come back to the line.
Yes. You don't just say, okay, I'm back, or I found it. The standard operating procedure is to say, thank you for holding, or sorry to keep you waiting.
Now, why do you think thank you for holding is generally preferred over just apologizing?
Well, it shifts the focus. Apologizing, saying sorry to keep you waiting, it subtly highlights that you did something wrong or that you caused an inconvenience. But saying thank you for holding actually validates the other person's patience. It praises them for being cooperative. And from a psychological standpoint, people would much rather be praised for their patience than reminded of your delay.
That makes a ton of sense, actually. Now, let me push back on something else here, because there's another major roadblock that causes huge anxiety.
Bad audio.
Yes. The connection drops, or they're mumbling. Our guide says you should use phrases like, could you speak up, please? Which is just a polite way of asking someone to increase their volume.
Right.
But when it comes to the other person speaking too fast, or maybe using vocabulary you don't know, the recommended phrase is, I didn't catch that.
Yes, that's a key phrase.
But wait, why do native speakers lean so heavily on I didn't catch that? Like, isn't I didn't understand you just a lot more direct and honest?
It is more direct, but directness isn't always the goal when you're trying to minimize social friction.
Okay.
Think about the implications of saying, I didn't understand you. In a professional setting, that phrase can inadvertently sound like an accusation. Like you're saying, you are terrible at explaining this.
Oh, I see. Or it feels like a humiliating admission of your own lack of comprehension.
Exactly. It highlights a language barrier. It makes it personal. Suddenly it's about your brain or their communication skills.
Yeah, that's uncomfortable.
But saying, I didn't catch that, is linguistically brilliant. It completely removes personal blame from the equation. It frames the misunderstanding as just a mechanical failure of the moment.
Like the words were physical objects.
Right, as if they were tossed into the air and through nobody's fault, maybe a bad connection, maybe a distraction, you just didn't happen to physically catch them. It preserves everyone's dignity.
It's a perfect linguistic shock absorber. I love that.
It really is.
But, navigating a receptionist or a bad connection is one thing. The real test of this phone dialect is when money, safety, or your professional reputation is on the line.
The high-stakes scenarios.
Exactly. Let's dig into a few of these, starting with retail and restaurants.
This is where precision in your vocabulary becomes so crucial. If you're trying to buy a specific item, the instinct for a lot of learners is to ask a store, do you have this laptop?
Yeah, that sounds natural.
But native speakers usually ask if the store carries it or if it's in stock.
Right. Because if you ask a store employee, do you have this laptop? It almost sounds like you're asking if they personally own it.
Precisely. The verb carry shifts the context to corporate inventory. Do you carry this brand? Asks about their general retail strategy. Is it in stock? Asks about the physical reality of the warehouse that day.
And understanding that difference gets you a much faster, more accurate answer.
Absolutely. Similarly, if you call a restaurant, you have to be prepared for them to say they are fully booked.
Which is an important distinction from being closed. Fully booked just means every table is spoken for, even if the doors are wide open.
Exactly.
Now, let's turn the heat up a bit. What happens when you're making a customer service call because something went wrong? You ordered a laptop and they sent you a toaster.
Oh, the nightmare scenario.
You're frustrated. Emotions are running high.
It is incredibly tempting to just vent that frustration. But yelling or using highly emotional language like, you guys ruined my presentation, it triggers a defensive reflex in the customer service rep.
Right, they stop trying to help you and just start defending themselves.
Exactly.
So how do we hack that interaction?
By using controlled, emotionally distant language. Instead of expressing anger, you express a failure of standard. You say, I'm not satisfied with this product, or this level of service is unacceptable.
Notice the difference there. You aren't saying, I am angry at you. You're objectively stating that a professional standard has not been met.
Right. It elevates your complaint from a personal grievance, which is super easy for a company to dismiss, to a professional issue that requires a procedural resolution. You're speaking the language of corporate policy.
And that forces them to respond using corporate solutions, like giving you a refund or an exchange.
Yeah.
That's so smart.
It works wonders.
Now, speaking of high stakes, there is one scenario where you have to completely throw all of this politeness right out the window.
Actual emergency.
Yes. If you're calling an ambulance or reporting a fire, the rules of the phone dialect invert completely.
In a true crisis, efficiency absolutely overrides politeness. We spend years teaching English learners to soften their requests, to use please or could you possibly or I would like to.
But in an emergency, that politeness is actually dangerous.
It really is, because it costs precious seconds and obscures the main point.
You have to strip away all the pleasantries. You say immediately, this is an emergency. You state your location. You use direct commands.
It feels really unnatural if you've been trained to be polite, but it is culturally the exact correct move.
And of course, you need to know the local number, like 911 in North America, 9999 in the UK, or 1 in 12 across much of Europe.
It's just a vital reminder that context dictates the rules of communication.
Totally. Now, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum from a life or death emergency, we have the modern, slightly embarrassing faux pas, the pocket dial.
Ah, yes, the pocket dial. When your phone unlocks in your pocket or bag and calls someone without your knowledge.
The ultimate low-stakes emergency. You're just sitting there working at your desk, and suddenly you realize your phone has been broadcasting your conversation to your boss for the last 3 minutes.
It's horrifying.
It causes this immediate weird social friction because they were accidentally eavesdropping on you. So how do you defuse that?
Well, you don't need a long, elaborate apology. You just name the phenomenon to excuse it. You say, sorry, that was a pocket dial, or sorry, my phone called you by accident.
Just label it.
Right. By giving it a recognizable name, you signal that it was a technological glitch, not some weird intentional act, and everyone can just quickly move on.
Okay, so we've covered the extreme high stakes and the awkward low stakes. But transitioning back to the core professional world, there's another scenario that I think is honestly the ultimate final boss of phone English.
Oh, the conference call.
Yes, the conference call.
The dynamic just fractures completely when there are multiple invisible people on the same line.
It really does.
Yeah.
To me, a conference call is it's like an old school radio broadcast.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. Because if you're in a physical meeting room with 10 people, you could just turn your head, look directly at Sarah and say, what do you think? Sarah knows you're talking to her. Everyone else knows you're talking to Sarah.
But on a conference call, there is no visual spotlight. The room is pitch black.
Exactly. So you have to verbally announce your presence and direct your beam of light every single time you step up to the mic.
And that radio broadcast analogy perfectly captures the etiquette you need. You can't just start speaking mid-thought. The absolute rule is always state your name before you speak.
especially if the group doesn't know your voice intimately.
Exactly. You say, "This is my name. I think we should consider." And when you need to jump into the conversation, you can't rely on leaning forward or raising a hand. You have to use polite verbal interruptions.
Right, you have to inject yourself into the audio stream really smoothly, like, sorry to interrupt, but,
Yeah.
or if I may add something here.
And beyond just managing the flow, conference calls are where you really need to establish your authority. And you can do this by slightly elevating the register of your vocabulary.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure. For instance, the difference between the words ask and inquire.
I mean, they mean the exact same thing fundamentally, right?
Fundamentally, yes. But inquire carries a much more formal, professional weight. You might ask a friend what time the movie starts. But if you're on a multi-person business call saying, "I'm calling to inquire about the Q3 budget," instantly elevates your perceived professionalism.
It signals to everyone else on the line that you understand the formal environment you're operating in.
Exactly. It commands a completely different level of respect.
Okay, let's take a breath and look at where we are. We've successfully opened the call with a strong verbal handshake. We've navigated the receptionists and the bad audio. We've handled the high-stakes negotiations, established authority on our conference call, and we got the resolution we wanted.
We're at the finish line.
Right. Now comes what I think is honestly the hardest part for a massive amount of people.
The exit strategy.
Getting off the phone.
Ugh.
Without sounding like you're slamming the door in their face, but also without getting trapped in a 20-minute endless loop of, okay, yeah, you too, okay, bye, thanks, bye.
It is the worst. The graceful exit is absolutely an art form, and it requires a very specific sequence of steps, starting with the signal.
Because you can't just say, okay, the business is done, goodbye, and click the red button.
No, that feels incredibly abrupt
Mm.
and cold.
You need a buffer phrase, something that alerts the other person's brain that the interaction is beginning its descent. The guide recommends phrases like, well, I should let you go, or I won't keep you any longer.
And pay close attention to how those buffer phrases are constructed. You are framing the end of the call as a favor to them.
Oh, that's subtle.
Right. You aren't saying, "I am bored and want to leave." You are saying, "I should let you go." The implication being that their time is highly valuable, they are undoubtedly busy, and you are being polite by not monopolizing any more of their day.
It's an incredibly clever piece of social engineering. But what if you are the one who actually is desperate to leave? Like your next meeting starts in 2 minutes and the person on the phone just keeps talking.
Then you can use the reason exit. You are polite, but highly direct. "I have a meeting in 5 minutes, so I need to go."
Giving a concrete reason sort of softens the sudden stop because it shifts the blame to your schedule.
Exactly. But here is where many people make a critical mistake. Before you actually say goodbye and hang up, there is a vital step that you cannot skip: the confirmation.
Yeah, this is using phrases like, just to confirm, the meeting is Tuesday at 2 p.m. in conference room B. Correct.
Oh.
Now, let me play devil's advocate for a second here. Let's say I've just had a grueling 20-minute call. The business is finally done. I am exhausted. Do I really have to summarize everything? Can't we just trust that we both took good notes and hit the end call button? Like, is that confirmation step really that crucial?
It is arguably the most crucial part of a professional call.
Really?
Yes, think of that confirmation step as a verbal contract. When you are on a phone call, especially an international one or one taking place in a second language, the chance for mishearing a critical number, a date, or an address is incredibly high.
That's true.
By taking 15 seconds to summarize the actionable details right at the end, you prevent disastrous misunderstandings. Imagine flying to a different city and showing up to a meeting on the wrong day just because you wanted to end the phone call 10 seconds earlier.
Yikes. So it's the ultimate cognitive safety net.
Exactly. But it also serves a deep psychological function. Summarizing the call demonstrates a very high level of reliability and competence to the other person.
It proves you were actually listening.
It proves you were listening, that you're organized, and that you take the interaction seriously enough to ensure accuracy. It builds immense trust.
And building that trust leads perfectly into the final step of the exit, the follow-up. This is where you commit to the next steps, bridging the gap between the phone call and real-world action. Using phrases like, I'll get back to you, which is a promise to contact them again with more info.
Or, I'll send you an email with the details.
Right. And obviously the golden rule here is if you say you're going to follow up, you have to actually do it.
Because the follow-up is the ultimate proof of professionalism. It shows that the phone call wasn't just empty talk. It was the catalyst for actual momentum.
Wow. So we have literally walked through the entire life cycle of a phone call in English. From that initial verbal handshake to dodging the roadblocks, asserting authority in high-stakes environments, and finally executing the graceful professional exit.
It's quite a journey.
It is. And looking at all of this, it really does come down to having these specific templates ready to deploy.
The preparation itself is your safety net. Because you don't have body language to rely on, knowing these phrases by heart reduces your cognitive load.
Right.
If you don't have to panic about how to say hello or how to ask someone to wait, you free up your brain's processing power to actually focus on the substance of the conversation.
And beyond just the vocabulary, our guide leaves us with some brilliant, practical physical tips for phone calls.
Oh, these are great.
First, even though they cannot see you, you should absolutely smile while you talk.
Yes.
This isn't just some psychological trick, it's physiological. Smiling actually changes the shape of your mouth and your vocal cords, and people can literally hear the warmth and openness in your voice.
It makes a huge difference.
Second, find a quiet place to eliminate background noise, which reduces audio friction. And third, always have a pen and paper ready to take notes so you can easily execute that vital confirmation step at the end.
Those physical preparations just ground you. They take an invisible, abstract interaction floating in the airwaves and make it feel tangible and controlled.
Exactly. So the next time you need to call a global client or book an overseas hotel or handle a frustrating issue with a product, you do not have to freeze in silence. You have the exact script, the dialect that you need.
You're ready.
But before we wrap up today, there's a fascinating underlying theme here that I want to leave you with.
Oh, I think we're looking at the same cultural shift here.
Probably.
Yeah.
We are currently living in an era of massive video call fatigue. For the last few years, everyone has been working remotely, staring at grids of faces. People are exhausted by the constant self-monitoring.
The worry about your background, fixing your hair, trying to look perfectly attentive on camera all day long.
It's draining.
The performative aspect of video calls carries a very heavy psychological toll.
Right. So consider this. As that video fatigue continues to deepen, might the traditional voice-only phone call actually make a massive comeback?
Oh, that is interesting.
Think about it. Without the visual distractions, without the need to perform for a camera, the voice-only call forces you to rely entirely on the clarity of your words and the tone of your delivery. It might just become the ultimate distraction-free test of pure, focused, professional communication.
That is a highly provocative thought. We might be on the verge of seeing the phone call shift from being this anxiety-inducing necessary evil to actually being the preferred premium mode of deep, focused work for professionals worldwide.
It really makes you reconsider the power of just your voice. So the next time someone asks, "May I have your name, please?" over the phone, you won't need 3 seconds of dead air.
Not at all.
You'll know exactly what to say and exactly how to say it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.